Hello. So I am just up in a tree right now. It's really windy. I hope that towards the end of this video everyone can hear me just fine, because I'm not really gonna do a sound check probably until after I finish talking all the way, and that's probably a bad idea because if I spend the whole time talking and then it turns out you can't hear me, it's not good. I'm also being a little quiet because there's people down there. I'm right by a trail. So the wind also could knock down my phone at pretty much any second. So let me preface this with a few warnings. So this video is going to be about my mental health and maybe my struggles in life, and it's probably going to be a long video. It could honestly be like an hour long. I'm just gonna spill my brains out, talk about whatever I feel like talking about, and it is everyone's choice. No one is obligated to watch this, because whether or not anyone watches it, it's going to be therapeutic for me to just talk about it all. The next thing is, in dealing with some of my hardships, I should put a trigger warning, content warning, that I'm going to talk about abuse very lightly. I won't go into detail, but I'll reference it. So maybe there's someone who's been through similar situations and it might set you off. I know how it feels and we'll get into that. So yeah, this could be a very long video. And since I'm in the middle of the forest, I'm just recording it on my camera, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for it stopping suddenly, because my phone storage might just stop the video. I really hope I notice before I talk for too long. So I think that's it. I think that's all really the warning that I need to give. That dude's getting it. Where to begin? I think I just want to start with what I'm diagnosed with, I guess. We'll start with that. So, I'm diagnosed with MDD, major depressive disorder, also known as clinical depression or major depression. There's plenty of synonymous titles for it. GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. That's I just have anxiety. That's really it. And those are my diagnoses. Okay, so I'm not diagnosed with PTSD, but my therapist did tell me that I do exhibit symptoms of it, and I don't know if he's allowed to do this, but I just asked him. I told him that I don't want the diagnosis. I don't want to have PTSD to have it be officially recognized, because all in all my future plans are to join the military, and depression and anxiety already make that difficult. Having PTSD can increase the difficulty tenfold. And like I said, I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if he planned on diagnosing me with it, but I just told him that I don't want that. So I don't have the diagnosis, but I have the symptoms of it. And the symptoms being nightmares, avoidance of conflict, like I'm non-confrontational. I get really nervous when people yell. That's my main trigger, because I have triggers. It's yelling, kids crying, and I think that's it for my triggers. Flashbacks, it's another symptom. That little boy's just talking to his mom about face painting or something. I guess we'll move on to depression. So, symptoms of that would be, for males, sometimes it's different than females. I learned that while I was doing research for one of my papers for college. And so males don't usually necessarily like exhibit loneliness, hopelessness, like loss of interest and stuff, and just sadness like women do. Men tend to get angrier and like more irritable. They tend to feel more tired most of the time and stuff like that. But for me, I exhibited more of the female symptoms, like the sadness and the loneliness and loss of interest in a lot of the things that I cared about. I lost my ability to focus a little bit, and I had a lot of trouble with my memory, like my short-term memory. Not something super crazy like Alzheimer's or anything, but it's just like, what was your name? What did we talk about in class? Stuff like that. And then anxiety. Anxiety is all over the place. In general, like symptoms for it are, it's a lot of stuff. I guess for me, my main symptom of anxiety is shaking. I shake a lot, like I'm cold, like I shiver. And if it goes on for too long, I get cramps in my back because my muscles are so tightened. And another thing, for those of you with anxiety, the reason you may have cold hands and cold feet is because when your body is anxious and it enters that fight or flight mode, it draws all the blood to your vital organs because it in a protective way. So it takes the blood from your extremities and puts it in your chest, and that's why your hands and feet might get cold, because your body's in a fight or flight type of response. Just a little bit of info for you. What else? See, I'm not really going by a script, so this might be a long video, and I'm just I might just think for a second. It's 2020, yeah, and I was diagnosed, in late 2017, I think 2017, yeah. So I've been diagnosed for 3 years with these mental illnesses, but my mom told me that she saw me start to exhibit depressive symptoms since I was 9 years old. I don't really know how she saw that or what she saw that made her come to that conclusion, but I mean, I believe her. Not to throw a pity party, but my life was kind of shit growing up, you know? And, I want to clarify one more thing. Whenever I talk about my past, and I feel like this is everyone kind of does this, it's just a human thing, but I focus super heavily on all the negative stuff. So like, even if this wasn't a video, if this was like a one-on-one thing, like if I get a new friend or I just meet someone new and they ask about my past, if they ask about my past, then I might seem like I'm throwing a pity party or like I want attention, when in reality I'm just talking about my past, and that's kind of just how it was when I was growing up. It sucked. That's that. Not much I can do about it but tell. so it might seem like I'm throwing a pity party, but I don't want an outcry of support, because I think I'm doing just fine. I feel really good nowadays compared to how I felt 2 to 3 years ago. I feel tremendously better, so much better than how I used to feel. And wow, I'm really talking to myself in the forest. And what was I saying? And I know that, not to be pessimistic, but I don't think my depression will go away. And even if my depression does, the emotion of sadness will never go away. Not like I'll always be sad, but there will always be moments in life when I am sad. And that is just a part of life. And I think what's helped me is to just come to terms with it, realize that there will always be times in your life when you're gonna be down, you're gonna be sad, you're gonna just feel like shit some days. Some days life will just beat you down into the ground, and you might think that you've got a grave going for you. This is where you're gonna die, because you're so far on the ground, you're so sad. But it always gets better. I think it always gets better. It takes time, yeah, but it will get better. If you're watching this and something in your life is not going right, or you're having a bad day, tomorrow is a fresh start. Next week is a new week. If tomorrow's a bad day, you've got one more after that. If it's a bad week next week, you've got one more. Knock it out. Make it a good one. And I know I might be preaching to the choir, because my intended audience for this video is teenagers who are around my age, because I'm a teenager. And obviously it's going to be a lot of a lot of people that I knew through high school, because that's really where I just took on social media, Instagram, Snapchat, all that. So that's really my intended audience. So I might just be preaching to the choir at this point. But as someone who has depression, I know that it's not just as easy as being happy and then it's done. It's not that simple. But I feel like the reason I'm doing so much better is a combined effort from therapy and from myself to come together and just really try and feel better about my life and myself and where I stand and how I feel on a day-to-day basis. And I don't know when this happened or how quickly it occurred or anything like that, but I think one day, I truly think that one day I just woke up and I was just tired. I was so done with being depressed. It sucks. It drains the life out of everything. It sucks. And I think one day I just woke up and I was like, fuck this. I don't want to be sad anymore. I don't want to feel like this. And like I said, I know it's not that simple, It's not a be-all, cure-all type of thing, but you have to start somewhere. And if you can just start telling yourself that today's the day that I'm gonna do something about this, I'm gonna start putting a smile on my face, and I'm gonna force all the bad stuff, and I'm gonna turn it into something good, because that's what I did. And that's where you start. I hope my phone doesn't fall off. I don't think I can catch it in time without falling out of the tree and dying. Look how high I am. Can you see? I can't see. I'm just sitting up here chilling, and my phone could fall at any moment because it's sitting right here up against these 3 knobs. Anyways, back on topic. Let's see if I can set my phone up right. I think that's right. It's getting cold and windy. What was I saying? My back hurts. I'm anxious. Talking about this is kind of scary. Being so open to all the people that are going to see this, if you do or don't watch it. I'm shaking because of the cold and because I'm anxious. I don't know if you can see it. But anyways. I think I want to talk about therapy. Because honestly, I really loved and enjoyed therapy. And I feel so bad for all the people out there who
Yeah, I'm just saying, our rocks are 2 foot. Yeah, that pretty much. I mean, you can have one on each side.
but I loved therapy a lot, and I enjoyed every session. Every session. It wasn't a chore to go to therapy, it was a relief. It felt great. And I feel so bad, and I'm so sorry to all of you people out there who have gone to therapy, and your first impression of a therapist was a cookie cutter therapist that followed a script and was just robotic, and it didn't seem like they cared about you. Because my therapist, he was so cool. He was cool. I felt like we were friends, honestly. Like, if I met him in real life, like walking down the street, I feel like we could have been friends. He's a cool guy. His name is Dave. And honestly, I think I have voicemails saved from him. I know that sounds really stupid, but Dave changed my life. He really did. And I remember during my last session with him on the phone at work, I almost started crying, and I was like, thank you for helping me. You were a good therapist. Because I don't know where I'd be without therapy. Damn. I didn't expect to cry this early. So, to all of you out there who struggle every day, I just want you to know that I was there. I experienced it, and I still do. And it gets better. And when it does, it feels great. And I hope you find something, someone, somewhere that makes you happy without you having to try, without you having to do much of anything. Because oh, there it goes. Because everyone deserves that. I think everyone really does deserve a chance at happiness. I'm glad I caught my phone. I don't have any money right now. I wouldn't have been able to replace it. But I'm glad I caught it. See? Turn the bad stuff into good. Phone falls off a tree from like 20 feet up. You caught it. Good job. Now I can keep talking. I'm incredibly fortunate and lucky that I had a good first-hand therapy experience, a good first experience with therapy. Because I'm gonna go back one day, eventually. I will go back to therapy. Because therapy is not something you should start if you're already experiencing a crisis. You don't put air in your car's tire after it's gone flat. You put air in your tire every once in a while to make sure it stays inflated. I personally don't think that you should go to therapy when you're on the verge of suicide. But if that's the first step, you should take it. Therapy is just a maintenance for your mind. And if you're in a good or a bad spot in life, I think everyone should go to therapy. So, on top of therapy, I took the other route that people also take, and I took medication for my mental health. I took Lexapro, Latuda. I feel like there was a third one. But yeah, I took medication for 2 years, I think. And it helped. And whether it helped because it was truly helpful or it helped because of the placebo effect, which means that I thought it was helping because that's what I expected from it. They could have just given me any pill and I could have been like, this is it. This makes me feel happy. It's like when I was younger and my mom, she told us she would give us Tums for anything. A headache, Tums. Sprain your ankle, Tums. your stomach actually hurts, Tums, because if you're not familiar with Tums, they're just little circles of chalky candy, like Sweet Tarts, and we thought they were candy. So on top of it being candy and medicine, it was a little placebo effect for us, and it would make us feel better pretty much every time. But my medicine, I was fortunate enough to have actually helpful medicine. I wasn't put through a series of different meds and different doses multiple times a month, multiple times a year, because my nurse practitioner, her name was Ebony, she managed to get me a genetic test. And I still have that test. I have the papers printed out and they're locked up in my safe with my birth certificate and my social security card. And that test is pretty important to me because, like, when I go back to therapy, if I end up needing more medication, then I will show the people that and be like, I know my body might have changed recently because this test was based off my metabolism and my genes and stuff like that, but this is what we found when I was like 16. Maybe it's still valid. So yeah, that test was pretty in-depth. It explained a lot of stuff that I didn't understand, and I was fine with that. I love learning new stuff. I love learning. So it explained a lot of different genes in my DNA and how they correlate to certain stuff with the meds. I don't really remember the last time I looked at it was, probably like 2 years ago, but I was super fortunate to have that test because the meds worked every time. And lost my train of thought. Give me a second. I'm swinging my leg over the tree in case you're wondering why I'm shaking. God, what was I gonna say? Eventually I stopped taking meds. I stopped taking them like a year ago. I took them for 2 years. I was off 1 year so far. Yeah, I stopped taking meds because I felt like I was doing better. And I felt like I didn't need them. And again, having to do with the military, it makes it super, super difficult to get into the military if you're currently being medicated. To join the Air Force, which is what I want to do, you need to be out of therapy for 1, maybe 2 years. No therapy for 1, maybe 2 years. No medication for 6 months to a year. I think. But after I finished taking my prescription medication, I started self-medicating. And I took over-the-counter L-theanine and over-the-counter ashwagandha. And these are both like natural stuff that comes out of the ground type stuff that you take. And that was recommended to me by my second nurse practitioner when I asked her what can I take as a natural remedy for my mental health. And if you go to Walmart, which is where I got it from, on the bottle sometimes it says like a little purple banner that'll say like sleep health I don't know, vitamins. These ones said mood health or mood stabilizers on the bottles. And these seem to help too. Again, helpful or placebo, I won't know, but it helped, and that's what matters. And there were no side effects. Speaking of which, I don't recall any side effects from my medication, and the gene test helped with that. So yes, all in all, I was so fortunate and lucky to have a really good, efficient therapy and support system to help me get through it. One more thing before I move on from therapy, because I think I'm going to wrap it up. I think I'm finished with talking about therapy for now. My therapist, we did special therapy, a special type of therapy called brain spotting. And it sounds super science fiction-y, spacey. I don't know, it sounds weird, right? Brain spotting. And he told me, excuse me, I just farted. But he told me that he was one of the very few therapists who practices this type of therapy. One of the very few in the area, not in the world. There's more people coming. I might shut up for a second. But yeah, we did brain spotting, and that therapy is specifically to help deal with suppressed trauma and trauma in general. Anyways, what was I saying? Brain spotting. Yeah. I don't necessarily really know how to explain it. So right after this video, I'm going to put some 2 videos of what brain spotting is, maybe 3. I might have to split it up if it's too long. I think I will have to. But anyways. I want to go back to symptoms again. Because, I've noticed that a couple times. I keep turning over, looking around when I hear stuff, and there's no people there. And again, this is just a human thing to be aware of your surroundings and respond to noises, and something flashes across your eyes, you're gonna look over there. But a symptom of PTSD, which is an anxiety disorder, so this might be a symptom of anxiety as well, but it's called hypervigilance, and it means what it says. You're just hypervigilant. So vigilant means like on the lookout. You're always trying to be aware, trying to soak up all the information you can. And hypervigilant means you're doing it all the time, constantly. And I used to be really bad with that in middle school, I think. But I've taken that symptom and I've turned it into something really good. And I use it to strengthen my memory, because I have a pretty good memory. And I use it to remember the smallest little details. Like, for instance, the first night I went to Stars and Strikes in Smyrna, I know what parking spot I parked in. The first time I went to eat hibachi with my uncle, I remember that parking spot. If I go on a date, I can pretty easily remember what we ordered and the exact spot where we sat. Same for movie theaters. I can kind of remember exactly where we sat. If not, I know the general area. If I have a flashback, I usually remember where, when, and why it happened. My last flashback was 1 year ago. 1 year and 1 month. It was in November. And it was at Barnes & Noble. For those of you in Miss Peck's class who might see this, do you remember when Miss Peck handed out those little pamphlets for a Barnes & Noble night? Where the class would go to Barnes & Noble, or like the school, or maybe just the English department or something. I think it was the whole school. I don't necessarily remember why we went there, but I know it was Barnes & Noble, and I know Miss Peck handed out little flyers. But that was the last time I've had a flashback. And I was with Bailey, and it's not her fault at all. This is just the memory of it. This is what I can recall. I was with Bailey, and we were sitting down on the floor, reading the books from the science section, and it was right next to the toy section directly in front of us. To the right of us was the bathroom. To the left of us was the main strip of the bookstore that led right to the front door. And in front of us, I heard a little boy crying. Keep in mind, that's one of my triggers. And as soon as I heard him crying, I freaked out. I started wondering, because anytime I hear a kid cry, I wonder what their parents are doing to them. I get nervous and I feel like their parents are like beating them or something, or hurting them. And I always feel like I have to step in. But more on that later. And it was this little boy. He was throwing a tantrum because I think maybe he didn't get what he wanted. And his dad picked him up and carried him. And this boy was probably 3 or 4 years old, so he didn't need to be carried. He could have walked, but I understand that it's easier to just carry a kid who's throwing a tantrum, because if you try to make them walk, they might just slump and turn into dead weight and make you drag them. I've seen it happen with my nephew, I think. I might be lying about that. I feel like he's probably done that. But anyways, the dad picked him up, and the kid started crying even more, crying harder, crying louder. And I don't know if this was just me, because I was so anxious, super hyped up on adrenaline. But to me, it looked like he picked his kid up pretty violently. He just picked him up and just took him away, and they left the bookstore. And the whole time, I was just watching him walk out the bookstore with his kid in his arms. And Bailey said my name. She was like, "Gabe." are you okay? You know, stuff like that. I don't exactly remember what she said. I know that I could hear her the whole time. And I wasn't ignoring her on purpose, but I was just stuck in that moment, you know? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. And I think she went back to reading. But I was just staring off at where it all happened. I was just staring into space in the direction of where it happened, and just realizing that I had a flashback. And it came out of nowhere. And realizing that it had been quite a while since my last flashback. And I was just staring off into space, just stuck in my own head. And Bailey kept trying to help me. She just kept asking, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Stuff like that. And I just asked her if we could leave. I think I asked her if we could leave. And we went to her car, and we sat in her car. And she kept trying to ask me, like, what was going on, what was happening, and I was just kind of brushing it off, like, I don't want to talk about it, or it's nothing, stuff like that. And I think I eventually told her that I had a flashback and, like, what had happened and stuff like that, and she apologized, and she comforted me and consoled me. And then we got on with our night. So that was my last flashback. And I feel like the longer I go without having one, the worse the next one will be. But it's not a fear that sits right in front of my mind every day, like, is this gonna set you off? Are you gonna have a flashback today? Because if it was like that, I would have another symptom of PTSD, which is avoiding anything that reminds you in the slightest of the event, to avoid having a flashback. But I don't have that symptom. I'll go out in public and do whatever. It's just that they catch me off guard sometimes. My back hurts. Surprisingly, sitting in this tree is not very comfortable, but I like being up here. I think that now I want to kind of give a short, I'll try to keep it short, but when I start talking, I just ramble. I can see that this video is at 45 minutes long and it doesn't feel like it. If you've gotten this far, honestly, I'm so surprised. I don't think anyone will watch this, even for 10 minutes. It's really hard to keep people's attention. That's not your fault. It's just like, with your phone, like, I could be watching a YouTube video one moment and then I'll just move right on to something else. But anyways, I'm gonna start talking about my life. And I'm gonna focus on the bad stuff. That's kind of on purpose. just to give everyone an insight, because I want people to be able to relate to me and know that maybe I've experienced something you have. So there's someone else out there that you can come talk to. There's someone down there. One of the biggest things in my life happened to me before I was even conceived, before my mom was even pregnant with me. And I think I'm scaring her. She's looking around trying to find out who's talking. Hi. How you doing? I'm doing well. Have a good day. Merry Christmas. You're welcome. Before I was born, I lost 2 sisters. Their names were Samantha and Savannah. One of them was a stillbirth, and the other one was born way too prematurely. And I think she lived for 10 minutes or less. But what happened was, she was born so early that her lungs weren't fully developed, so she choked on her own lungs, which are supposed to be the things that help her breathe. She just suffocated on herself, and she died. So it was Samantha. This is the order of birth, from oldest sibling to youngest. Samantha, my sister Christian, who is alive, and she has a wonderful family. Savannah, me, and then my brother Noah. I was also born super early. I was born 3 months early. I weighed 1 pound 9 ounces. I didn't have a very high rate of survival, but I made it, because all I do is kick ass. I'm just good, you know? I had to get my medical records for the military. And what I found, my mom would tell stories about this all the time, but it was pretty surreal to see it in the medical records. But the doctor was typing up his notes, and he was like, Gabriel was crying. The mother had alerted us, like using that call nurse button or something like that, maybe. I'm not sure if I was in the room or if I was in the NICU, but he was like, I came into the room, and sure enough, Gabriel had intubated himself. I think that's the right word. But basically that just means that I pulled my feeding tube out, and I pulled my IV out of my arm. It was one or the other, maybe both. But I just thought it was... Oh, I caught it again. See, I'm just that good. Well, now I know when the wind comes from that direction, it's gonna make my phone fall. I'm so stupid. But anyways, I just thought it was funny that he basically said that, sure enough, Gabe had taken his shit out of his arm or his mouth, like he expected it. Which he did, because my mom told me that I did it all the time. I hated having that stuff. And she said eventually the other babies picked up on it, and they would copy me. And so I had the whole NICU taking their IVs or their feeding tubes out. And she was like, you're like a rebel, a little trailblazer. And I like to think about that. I think that's cool. Hopefully I didn't like accidentally hurt any of those babies, but like, revolution. I'm cold. It's windy up here in this tree. Moving on though. my dad, my biological father. His name is Perry. I didn't really know him at all growing up. He was arrested a few times, pretty frequently, actually, not just a few. And one time he was arrested for the last time for 11 years. And I think I was like 4 years old. Excuse me. That was around the... Excuse me, Jesus. That was around the time that it happened. I think, if I'm remembering right. Not that I'm remembering, it's just remembering that my mom told me that was when, you know. After that, my mom went through some boyfriends. And there's one in particular. His name was David. And I just didn't like him. I could tell, like, I was young, but I could just, he was one of those people that just gives off a vibe that's not very good. Vibe check. God, I'm an idiot. But yeah, I could tell, and I didn't like him. And then my mom, eventually she found Eric, who's my stepdad. I don't really know when she found him. But I'd guess that shortly thereafter, my grandfather died. He passed when I was 6. And I would love to have him in my life because he, he was a part of the Air Force Special Forces. He was a tunnel rat in Vietnam. And I hear all these cool stories about him from my Nana and my sister, who will always have more memories than me because she's older. So she has a lot of the memories of what happened when I was younger. And that's what I want to do, is like what he did. I want to go into the Special Forces in the Air Force. So if I could talk to him about it and like get some tips and what to expect and what he did with his life, that would be cool. And it would be cool for my Nana to have her husband back and my sister to have her grandpa back that she had some good memories with, and all my dad and my uncles to have their dad back. Shortly after that, actually before that, before I was born, when my mom was my age, like, not my age, not anymore, when she was around 16, 17, her mom died in a really bad car accident. So, you know, I'm 6 years old, sometime around there, and I've got 2 dead grandparents and 2 dead sisters, and my life's just full of death everywhere. And it's one of the things that I kind of focus on. I mean, Dave, my therapist, told me, he was like, you've experienced more death than the average person. And I was like, yeah, I think so. But I mean, it's okay. It is what it is. Can't really do anything about it. So I think what I've experienced is death and certainly loss, because people, sometimes they don't die, sometimes they just leave your life. But I've never, I don't think, experienced death firsthand. I've never been on anyone's bedside of their deathbed while they're taking their last breath. I've never watched a relative go. And I'm thankful for that, because that's different. And I realize that. So I'm grateful that I got to lose all of my loved ones so painlessly, in a way. But moving on to when I was about 7, that was when the abuse started. Now, all the people that already know about this, I don't really cover this part, but like, it wasn't even really me that was abused. It was Noah. And before anyone gets upset, like, I know that what my parents did was wrong. My stepdad mostly. I know that what he did was wrong. And they know that what he did was wrong. So, like, if you know my parents or anything like that, like, don't be upset with them. That just adds more stress into my life. Because I'm not upset with them. I may do with it. And in a weird way, I'm kind of glad it happened. I know that's fucked up, but it really shaped who I am. And it gave me character that takes a lot of time to get. Not to sound full of myself, that sounds like a douchebag thing to say, but like, I don't want to sound self-conceited, but I feel like I have a really good, strong moral code of right and wrong, and I feel like that just comes from seeing all the wrong in life. So I know what's right. But like I was saying, it wasn't really me who was abused. It was Noah, my brother. I may have been... It was physical abuse, by the way. I may have been 2 or 3 times, but 10 times, at the absolute most, 10 times for me. But over the span of 7 years, not a lot, is it? Over the span of 9 years, it's not a lot. Again, please don't be upset with my parents. I really don't want that. It happened. It affected my life, and I am okay with that. I don't want anything more to come from this, please. Moving on though. The reason I wasn't abused as much as Noah was because I stood up for myself. Not that Noah didn't, but like, I remember one of the first times that it happened. I think this was the first time. But it was me, Noah, and Eric sitting on the couch watching TV, and we were watching River Monsters. And Noah didn't like what was on the TV, and he like got upset about it. And he was like, I don't want to watch this. This is stupid. And and Eric got upset with him. He was like, well, we're gonna watch what I want to watch. And Noah just got upset. And something happened. I don't really remember, but... Hi.
Sorry.
It's okay.
How did you get up there?
There's a small tree over here. I climbed on that one, and then I jumped to this one, and then... I've been climbing trees my whole life.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. Good job.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Way to go.
But what happened was Eric got mad at Noah, and he grabbed him and he threw him off the couch, and he was like, go to your room. If you don't want to watch this, you can go to your room. So Noah started crying because he was thrown off the couch pretty violently, because he hit the ottoman. An ottoman is the thing that goes by the couch where you put your feet on it to rest. And I didn't do anything. I didn't move a muscle. I didn't complain. I just sat there. And after like 5 minutes, I was so upset with him on the inside. And I just couldn't contain it anymore. I was like, you know, you didn't have to do that. He was like, do what? I was like, you didn't have to throw him off the couch. He was like, I didn't throw him off the couch. I was like, yes, you did. And we just bickered back and forth. And I was like, yeah, you threw him off the couch and you hit the ottoman. You threw him off the couch. And he was like, you want to see what it means to be thrown off the couch or something like that? And he threw me off the couch. And I think I went over the ottoman, because I rolled across the floor and I hit the wall. And he didn't send me to my room, because he just wanted to show me what it meant to get thrown off the couch. So I stood up, and I went over to the couch, and I sat back down in that same spot to show him that I wasn't scared. But I was scared. Every time that I protected Noah, I was scared. I always thought they would come after me. I'm shaking because I'm anxious talking about this. But that's not really what the abuse was. The physical abuse was Noah being choked against a floor or a wall, or just choked in general. And the way that I would protect him was just intervening, yelling at Eric, telling him to get off, just saying that that's not necessary, stop doing that, you don't have to do that, get off, stop it, you know, stuff like that. And it worked. Every time that I ever saw Noah being abused, I stepped in and I protected him. And I'll do that my whole life, Noah, if you're watching. And it took me a long time to realize this, but I know people probably don't see me as this because I'm just a skinny kid. But I'm a protector at heart. I'm very protective. my loved ones and the people close to me. That's why I want to join the military. The way I see it, when I was younger, I started watching a show called Flashpoint on CW Network, I think. And it followed a SWAT team. And their stories like hostage negotiation, bomb threats, stuff like that. I was like, that's so cool. They get to help people, and they look really cool while they do it. They have so many gadgets, like, I don't know, like a flashbang, stuff like that. Or little wires that with cameras on the end that they would put under the door or through the ceiling vents. I just thought that was so cool, and they got to help people while they were doing it. So my first dream job, actually it's not my first dream job was to be a paleontologist, which basically just means dig up dinosaur bones, because I think every little boy is obsessed with dinosaurs, girls too. But I suppose my second dream job was to be a cop. Because I started out protecting my brother, and I wanted to move on to being able to protect the people in my city or my county. And now I want to join the military to protect the people in my nation. So maybe that's a stupid, cheesy reason, but I'm just following a list of how much I get to protect. Going from smallest to largest. Protect everyone. Because why not? I would really like to do that. But sometimes it doesn't go like that. Sometimes you need to help yourself first. And I suck at realizing that. I will always put people before myself. That's just who I am. I don't care who you are. Like, if I'm broke, because I'm a college student, I still give people money, like if they're on the side of the road. And my mom once yelled at me because I was driving home from Sonic one night, and I gave a guy a ride. I didn't know who he was. My mom was like, that was so dangerous, you could have got hurt. I was like, Mom, he's a cool guy. I could just tell. He just needed a ride, so I gave him a ride to McDonald's. And I'll always try to be helpful and kind, considerate and compassionate and loyal and nice. I always want to look out for other people, because I know that I'll always be able to take care of myself, even if it's in really small ways. I know that when all is said and done, I can take care of myself after I've helped everyone else, because it's up to me to do that, not them. So I don't care if I put other people first. I like doing that. I prefer to do that. But sometimes I can't, and I need to realize that. Because there's this one example I saw from a YouTuber called Prince EA. He made a video about this, and it's a little bit of an extreme analogy. But the scenario goes like this. You're in a plane, and something happens. Maybe you're about to crash land in the ocean or something, and the oxygen masks deploy from the ceiling or the canopy or the roof or whatever, and you're told to put them on. But the passenger next to you, you don't know who they are, but you see that they're struggling with putting theirs on. So you reach over to help them before you have yours on. And what happens is you can't get theirs on. It's hard to put someone else's mask on and you pass out because you didn't have the oxygen you needed from your mask because you never got to put it on. And then they pass out because they never got their mask on even though you were helping them. And you both die because you didn't have any oxygen. And the way he suggests solving this is to put your mask on first. Don't worry about other people. And it seems selfish, but that's just how it has to be sometimes. Because if you can put your mask on, you can turn over there, and even if, unfortunately, they're passed out because they don't have theirs on, you can put it on while they're passed out. And they'll come back to life instead of dying because they have that oxygen, even though they might be passed out. But what I do in life is I kind of ignore that completely because I know that I've got 2 hands. So why not put my mask on while I'm putting on someone else's? I do it all the time, and I've been doing it my whole life. Because again, growing up in that type of a house and protecting my brother, I've just been doing it my whole life. And I don't want to stop, but I need to realize when sometimes I might not be able to help. And I hate that feeling. Because I try really hard to help people in any way that I can. Anyway. Because I've been in a lot of low places in my life. And I've turned almost each and every one of them into a high place. I've turned all the bad shit in my life that I focus on, and I've made it good. I've turned it into a lesson, something like that. I made a silver lining. And there's another quote that comes to mind, and it's that the deeper the trench, the higher the peak. Hi. Hello. I've been here since you guys walked by last time.
Oh, cool. Are you CIA?
No, sir, I'm not CIA. Are you guys having a good day?
Excuse me?
You having a good day?
Oh, yes.
Sweet. Bye, guys.
Bye.
He asked me if I was CIA because I'm in a tree. It's funny. It's 2 Chinese gentlemen. They were speaking, well, I don't know what they were speaking, but it was an Eastern language when they were coming down. Chinese, Japanese, Korean, something. But anyways, not important. The deeper the trench, the higher the peak. If you're sad, if you're in a trench, and your peak is 1 foot off the ground, if your mountain is 1 foot tall, that mountain is going to be taller to you if your trench is 10 feet deep instead of 5. The sadder you are, the higher that mountain feels when you get to the top. Which is why I said it feels so good to be at the top where I'm at. And all I want to do is help everyone get there. That's it. I like doing that. I used to be suicidal. I don't know how many people know that. My mom didn't, and I thought that was weird. I mean, obviously I kept it a secret because I didn't want my family to know. I think Noah knew. He and I would joke about it all the time. Be like, "God, I want to kill myself." Or something wrong happens, like we die in, like, I don't know, Minecraft, or like, fuck, I want to kill myself. But like, that was our way of really just saying, like, this sucks. And let me tell you, that feeling of wanting to die is so different than anything. I had never felt so empty before. Like, I didn't even have the energy to kill myself. Because I would think about how much effort it would take to hang myself or cut myself or, like, drive into a tree. And I would just feel so tired, like, do I even deserve to end my own life? And I have never felt so hollow before. That is an extreme type of sadness that is like no other, and I don't ever want to feel that again. It is so horrible. Sucks. That kid at the beginning of the video who was talking about face painting, he's back. Can you hear him? He said, we did 4 miles. They're taking a picture of the sunset. Should I just be like, it's pretty up here too? But I don't want to scare them. I'll do it after she takes the picture. He's playing with the camera. She's encouraging him. should probably start talking again. My face is really clear, except for this. Looks good. I was gonna say something, but I decided not to. I thought I would have scared her. I didn't want to scare her. They're just having a good day. It's getting dark, like, pretty quick. I think I have, like, 30 minutes max. So. Tonight, I'll probably come up with more stuff to talk about. And I'll probably take a video tomorrow morning to add more to it. I won't be in the same spot, but I'll probably add more. But really, I strive to be kind and understanding and compassionate towards everyone. And I try to love everyone and be really nice to everyone. So, whether or not there's a part 2, I just want everyone watching this to know that you're loved. I love you. I care for you. And